Heading to the locker room after injuring his ankle last night, a fan dumped popcorn on Russell Westbrook, and he had to be held back by multiple members of security to not confront the fan. The fan was ejected shortly after. And Westbrook said after the game, quote, "In these arenas, you got to start protecting the players." We'll see what the NBA does. And meanwhile, in New York last night, a video was tweeted out highlighting a fan also potentially spitting on Trae Young as he was inbounding the ball. Trae laughed it off in a tweet, calling it crazy, but coupled with the Westbrook incident, it certainly is raising a lot of eyebrows right now. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joining us now. Chris, I'm curious your thoughts here. How concerned should the NBA be?
Well, first, let me applaud you guys for bringing up the Trae Young incident as well as Westbrook, because a lot of people are just talking about the Westbrook situation. And as bad as that was, and obviously that needs to be dealt with, I think the situation at Madison Square Garden where the fan tried to spit on Trae Young is worse. I mean, what happened in Philadelphia is terrible and unnecessary. What happened in New York is disgusting. You know, when you try to spit on a player, and maybe people aren't talking about it as much because he didn't land on Trae, but that doesn't matter to me. The intention was there, and not to mention we're at the tail end of a pandemic. We're wearing masks to protect ourselves from saliva and germs and things like that, and you spit on a player, or you try to? I think that fan should be banned for life from Madison Square Garden. I think the NBA has to deal with the fan in Philadelphia. Look into it. Is it a 5-year ban, 10 years, life? You know, they can deal with that. But they do have to protect the players because the league needs to come down on this and be concerned about it because you heard Westbrook allude to, you know, if I go up in the stands, it's a problem, or obviously he tried to go in the stands. LeBron, when he tweeted out, if the shoe was on the other foot, almost like, hey, if they can do this to us, why can't we do that to them? You can never allow the players to go in the stands. No matter what the fans do, you just can't have players going in the stands. None of us want to see the malice at the palace.
I do.
So the league has to the league has to respond on behalf of the players, and they have to come down hard to make sure fans don't do things that would lead players to want to go in the stands. So I also think, guys, it's interesting that this came one day after Kyrie Irving brought up racism in Boston and potential racism at the games there. I think a lot of fans feel like as long as I don't use the N-word, a lot of white fans, then I can say anything to a black player. You know, like it's not racist if it's not the N-word, which is ridiculous. There are many other words, many other things you can do or say to black athletes or black people in general that are racist. And I don't know these two guys that did these things. I know that in baseball or maybe hockey, this stuff can happen and has happened to white athletes. And maybe it is an outgrowth of, you know, the overwhelming majority of the fans at NBA games are white, and obviously the overwhelming majority of players are black. But I guarantee you that black players and executives and coaches and blacks in the NBA are looking at this as a racial situation as well. Many of them, maybe not all, but many, I'd say most, are looking at the racial element of this. And the fact is, just because you cheer or really adore a black athlete or you like rap music, you listen to rap music, doesn't mean you can't be racist. It doesn't mean that racism is dissipating and all of that. Because people go cheer for horses at the Kentucky Derby. All right, you can develop a strong emotional bond and connection to your dog or your pet. So none of that, because you have an emotional connection to a black athlete, doesn't mean you can't be racist. If you weren't going to be racist, then you treat black people with respect. Period. The end. That's it. Doesn't mean you can't go to the game and jeer and boo and trash talk and all of that. But you can do it in a way that isn't disrespectful. And again, whether these incidents were racially motivated or not, That's something that, because of the history of this country, we have to look at, or just as a human beings. It was just disrespectful, uncalled for, ridiculous behavior, and I do think the NBA needs to come down hard on it.
I agree. I'm looking at it like this. First of all, any incident like this, the team is automatically fined $1 million, and it goes up from there. So we're going to hold you the home team. Yes, your home arena, you're going to be fined $1 million. Then we're going to start with that. Now, the fan is going to be banned for life. So any event that's held at that arena doesn't have to be a game. It could be a hockey game. It could be a concert, a comedy concert. You're banned for life.
Okay.
And Skip, it's kind of like when I see people go into these enclosures at the zoo, I'll be applauding the lion. Get him, the tiger, get him. You go into the silverback enclosure, beat him down because you went into his environment. When these players are playing at the basketball game, that's the player's environment.
Yeah.
Now, when you cross the line by dumping popcorn and spitting, and I agree with you, Chris, the spitting incident is 1 million times worse. And I get Russ was already agitated. He was having a bad night. Skip, you know, sometimes, Skip, we just having a bad day. And the slightest thing.
And he was hurt.
Yes. I'm having a bad game.
Yeah.
I'm hurt. And this mofo dumped popcorn on my head.
It's like the final straw.
Exactly.
And there was a part of me that I wanted to see them let Russ go. Let him just go.
Please let Russ get him and beat the brakes off him. Because, you know,
obviously
Chris,
nothing good comes of that. But,
you know,
a message would have get sent.
And you would have thought, Skip, after Chris, and we were Skip and I was talking about the first segment, you would have thought after the Malice of the Palace, the fans like, you know what? Nah, man, I ain't getting to that. Because the way you saw Metal World Peace and you saw Stack Jack run up in the stand and be swinging on folk left and right, nah, I don't want none of that. Because I can't beat these players. But no, seem like they become more emboldened because they know the rules prohibit players from running up into the stands. They know the fine is going to be so severe. I think Stack Jack said it cost them like $5-6 million. It cost Metal World Peace.
At least it cost him $6 million for sure, but then he lost his endorsements. And
Metal World Peace.
Yeah, he was an MVP candidate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they understand the penalty for the player is far greater than it is for them if they were to do the act. Yeah. So therefore, there's like, well, you know, what's the worst thing that could happen? But the NBA does need to do something. Fans, contain yourself. You pay to cheer. You pay to boo. You don't pay to disrespect the player.
Yeah.
This isn't trash talking. The player, everybody, the players are getting soft. No. Imagine somebody showing up to your job. I'm going to give it to you like this, people at home. Imagine somebody coming up to your job and spitting on you. Somebody coming up to your job and dumping popcorn on you, or throwing ice or throwing water at you. I'm coming to your job. And I was thinking, man, you soft. I remember back in the day, we used to do this all the time. You wouldn't like it. That's somebody's child. Remember that. Just like you have kids and you want to protect them, that's someone's child. Russ was well within his right. They're getting out of pocket with this, and the NBA need to step in.
So, Chris, back to you. You and I have covered this league for many, many years. I love the NBA. I really love the NBA playoffs. This is tearing me apart that the game is again being threatened by a couple of bad apples. For the most part, fans are fairly well behaved.
Yes.
And yet, Chris, wouldn't you agree with me? The NBA is the greatest fan viewing experience, in-house viewing experience there is in sports, because you can, you can reach out and touch.
You're close, right?
It's beautiful. And as Shannon brought up earlier in the show, you're walking up the tunnel after the game, you can reach out and touch. They might flip you a sweatband or a headband or
your towel. Yeah, you get the shoes.
You get the shoes. You can slap five with them. You know, you can interact.
Players take up. Players used to give their jersey.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
That is now under threat.
Right.
So, Chris, I appreciate you brought up the racial component here. Just for the record, and maybe I haven't studied it closely enough, but I think the fan in question in Philadelphia was a black man, I think. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
It looked like it to me. It's a man in a red baseball cap with a black sweater draped around him. That's what I saw. I could be wrong. I haven't really put the pencil.
Yeah, because I was trying to see. I was hoping they pan so we could see, but I couldn't see.
Okay, but now let's go to, by far, the more egregious incident is at Madison Square Garden. Again, fans are overjoyed. The Knicks are back in the playoffs, and they're back in the building, and people are walking up and down Madison Avenue in New York, and it's feeling like we're about to come out of this ordeal we've been in. So emotions are running high and joyful, and all of a sudden, somehow little Trey Young, he's like 5'11", and he's a sweet kid. He's a really good kid. He's become the object of scorn in New York. I don't get it.
He's their Reggie Miller now.
Yeah, I know. What?
Right.
And we're only in game 2. It's not like this has been going on. It's not like there's a history of this rivalry.
Right.
And yet, this guy in the second row, and he is definitely a white guy, he winds up and he spits over a woman's shoulder. And you can see in the video, she flinches, and you have to blow up the video on your phone. You have to enlarge it, but you can see spit fly.
Right.
And I don't know if it lands on Trey's shoulder or back of his arm. I can't really tell where it falls. But the intention was there. I don't think Trey was aware of it. He was aware after the game, but at the moment he wasn't aware, or he would have. I'm pretty sure he would have wheeled and dealed, right?
I don't know if that was her husband or boyfriend sitting next to her, but I'd have turned around and slapped him in his mouth.
Okay. Well, I got it.
50 Cent. That's 50 Cent.
Oh, is it?
Isn't that 50 Cent? Yeah.
Oh.
I'm so, I don't know why he didn't do anything. He might not have seen it.
I might have been 35 Cent because I'd have slapped the change out of his mouth.
But to your point, Chris,
that's 50 Cent, and that's what
that
Trey
is
said.
definitely a white man on a black player. So we've got issues going on, and again, we need to identify who that fan is. He needs to be banned. But the other thing, he needs to become an object of public ridicule. The media needs to publicize who is this guy and what was he thinking. We need an interview with him. I want him to be on display for everybody to see this is the guy who did this.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when